Yeah? Oh. Hey. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my stream and chapter 7. I believe it's chapter 7. Working on that guy right there. That is Dukes of Hazzard General Lee. It's a 1/16 scale model kit. And you can see I'm working on stuff. Run the intro, please, and we'll get started. Okay guys, so we're going to continue on this, and today I kind of want to focus on the engine. I'll show you a couple of things that I did off camera, and we'll go from there, okay? So, I finally got our rear seat installed. Remember last time we put all those panels in there on the floor, and we got a putty in there, all that fun stuff. So I've got the rear seat installed. I'm still debating whether I'm going to put anything down in there. So it's not quite on the floor, but it's also not really going to matter too much, okay? So I just got that held in with CA glue, and that's how it's in there, and that's how it's going to look. So I do have some sheet styrene. I could maybe take a piece like this and put it down in front like that. Alternatively, I might use some felt for the flooring and have the felt actually come up the front of the seat a little bit and cover that gap. I don't know yet. I haven't decided on that just yet. Anyway, that's it. So we got their seat installed finally. So our car's going to have a rear seat. It actually feels kind of heavy with that resin in there. But yeah, so we got that. All right, that's that. Another thing I did was we have our carburetors. Did I get to have the carburetors in last time? And the fan belt? Yeah, I believe so. And you can see I got a little piece of heat shrink tubing on my thing. I was just testing to see if that fits. We wired up the distributor last time, right? And I made a couple of little wire looms for the wires to go through. Just like that, okay? And some wire looms just to tidy them up a little bit. And then I had to make a coil for our the coil and the distributors, so I 3D printed a little coil, and I got that painted. You can see I got my 3D printed mirror too, side view mirror for our General Lee, and that right there, if you guys know the Dodge Charger, you might recognize that, and that would be our trunk latch. Why to have the trunk latch? Well, you see here, I happen to have the trunk lid sitting right here, because I cut the hole in the trunk for the trunk. Bang! There you go. I did that, spent a bunch of time working that. I still have to do a bunch of cleanup on there and get this hole looking a little bit cleaner here. But yeah, we got our trunk opening done. So yeah, slowly but surely that's coming along. The other thing I did was I primered our headers. And instead of using the, where did I put them? They're here somewhere. Instead of using these out of the kit, I cut some styrene to glue onto the head there, so that, because our pipes don't line up to the cylinder head on this, but this also doesn't fit on here. It's too tall. So I cut some styrene to fit, and so that's going to go like this, and that'll fit in there, and that'll look a lot better. Okay, so I primered them, but yeah, that's it. Another thing I did off camera, I was just playing around with this. I downloaded this 3D file from Cults. This guy makes actual functional hood latch. Now this is way too big for our scale, but I printed it off just in how we had it, just so I could see how it goes together and see if this works, or if it's something I could possibly do. Yeah, it's functional, it works. Obviously doesn't have the springs like you'd have in real life, but it works. And these actually, it's got the little nuts on there and everything, right? They're not threaded on, they're just press fit, but that's it. And that's all it is. And yeah, it works good. This little nut wants to fall off here. It's a real tight little fit. But yeah, it works. That's the main thing. It's actual functional. You can use it. Yeah, a little bit of epoxy on the tip there, boom, or something like that, and seal that nut on there, and then it'll never come apart. And there you go. Just a little something I was thinking of maybe doing. I don't know. But obviously it's too big. I want to get more of our engine assembled today, the kit engine specifically. I want to get that done. So let's have a look at our instructions. Maybe even get the rear end mounted today. I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to do a little less fooling around with the resin stuff, and let's get our kit engine going here, okay? So step number 19 was putting on all the stuff on the front of the engine, and I've done everything except the fan blade, which I don't even have painted yet. I think I will paint that. Let's paint that fan blade. We're gonna get this thing painted here. Move my rear end out of the way. I still have it sitting on the sprue. It looks okay. Doesn't look like there's any flash. Well, there's a little bit of flashing. Let's clean that up first. It is just a plastic fan, so it's going to be a little thick and out of scale. And that's just the nature of the game. You can go in here in little areas. Let me close up my paint here. I'm actually going to take it off the sprue so that I can do this. You can get in there, smooth off that thing. You can go in on the back side of it and file the edges. And by doing so, it gives it the appearance of being thin metal from the front, which is, you're going to see it from the front more than anything, right? So basically just chamfering the edges so that it appears to be thin. Have a look at it here while I'm doing it. This edge could use a little more love on this edge here. There we go. The idea is make the edge pointy, or sharp kind of. That's the whole point of this. Normally I wouldn't care so much. Sitting under the hood, you don't really notice it. I might do one or two blades, the ones that are facing up. But this engine is going to be just sitting like maybe on an engine stand or something like that. Or maybe on an engine hoist, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Top of that blade there. Cut this one too. There we go. That's looking a lot better. I don't know if the camera, if you can tell on the camera, they just look a little bit thinner now. It's that's the whole point of it. Get that thick edge off of there. And before I paint it, I'm going to make sure that this actually fits on here, or if I have to do anything. She doesn't want to go in her hole. Yeah, the hole here in the front of the water pump pulley is much smaller than the peg on the fan. So we have to adjust that. So we're gonna see if I got a drill bit that's the right size. That's a little too small. What about my next size up here? This guy. What size are you? And you are just a little too big, I think. Actually, it's actually smaller. And yet, I'll start with this drill bit here. Let's see. Yeah, even with that one still, she still don't want to go in. So what I can do, get in here a little bit, and if I put my drill bit at a bit of an angle, it'll fake the hole bigger. Almost, but not quite. Let's see if I can file this one down a little bit. If I can get it to the point where it's almost going in, then with a little bit of glue it'll work. There we go. That actually did the trick. So that's how our fan blade, it's ironic our fan blade, if this were real, would actually hit our flywheel. Would actually hit the flywheel. You have to almost have it on an angle or position it like this and just pretend that that would not hit it. That is funny. But that's okay. Alright, let's get some paint on this and get this thing colored black. I'll grab a little clip here to hold it for me. There we go. Get some black. And we'll get this guy painted up. So it's nice, shiny gloss black. This is the Tamiya X1. You know, I have all these Tamiya paints, so I might as well use them. I prefer the LP line. Of course, those are lacquer. They go down a little smoother. They're a little nicer, but if you're like me and you've got the X series, then why not use it, you know? There we go. A nice shiny black flan blade. It's a flan blade, yeah. I'll just put this down over here. And we'll let that dry. Okay. Clean my brush, and let's get some assembly on the back side of the engine done. That would be the front. Okay, so we've got that done. The fan will be installed shortly. We've already done the oil pan and the valve covers, and of course our valve train on the one side, which I finally did our machine surface around the cylinder head there, so that we've got, you know, a nice machine surface for the gasket to go on for our valve cover, right? Yeah. So that's that. So next, we already have the carb on here, but we got to put part number 210. This is our throttle linkage. And it looks like I'm going to have to paint our distributor cap and get that ready for installation. The distributor cap, again, I still have it on the sprue here, but we got to get that ready for installation. I can't just leave it has a gray thing, and I gotta clean it up too. So basically, the bottom part of it needs to be aluminum. I'll paint it with a bright silver. Instead of the aluminum. And then I have to decide what color the cap is going to be. There we go. Okay, put that down. And of course the little shaft should be the same. Get that down right where it goes into the hole. There we go. Okay. That would be the distributor shaft. Now, I did the distributor cap on my 440. I chose red. I did actually look online to see what would be this normal color. You know, like I commented on one of my YouTube videos. I've basically been a Ford guy my whole life and not really too familiar when it comes to Dodge and Chevys. I know Chevy, a lot of times they use HEI distributors and that kind of thing, where you don't even have an ignition coil because it's on the top of the distributor cap. Ford distributors, usually your caps are blue mostly. But I know a lot of times Dodge and GM, they use that kind of a brownish beige color. I think I'm going to go beige on this one. We're going to go beige on our Hemi. This is already pretty dry, so I am going to flip this around. See if I can get that in there. Whoops. I'll just do that. That holds it good enough. There's enough friction on there. I happen to have the tan color left over. It's LP76 yellow brown. That works, I think. That'll be good. It's actually what color the interior is going to be. I will be doing the interior in this color. Eventually, when we get there. That seems like it's going to be a long way off. I have this thinned out for airbrushing, so I might have to paint a couple of coats on there to get full coverage over my gray primer. And of course, where the black was on the nub, where it was attached. Yeah, I think I will do a second coat on this, just to cover up some of that where it's not really covering. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll hit it with a second coat. I'll give that a couple minutes to dry. In the meantime, we'll look at our throttle linkage here. It's on the chrome sprue. It's part number 210. So, part number 210 on our chrome sprue. Let's find it here. At 219, I think that's an oil filter. We got to do the oil filter on this too. We're going to do the oil filter. It might be on the next page. Where's my oil filter? There it is. Yeah, 219 is the oil filter, but I got to get this part here. They only show the part number for the filter, 219. Oh, it's because they're both the same part, 219 and 219. Let's get that off of there now. Our filter looks really strange. And then we've got this guy. This great big adapter. What part was I looking at originally? 210? Yeah, 210, my throttle linkage. Let's find it on here. Right here, 210. Looks a little bit different than the picture. And it also is a really ugly looking nub on it. That's what it looks like coming off of the sprue. It doesn't look like much at all, and really doesn't look like the pictures too much. And it's because we got some flashing on here, some extra bit that is not supposed to be there. At least according to the picture and the instructions. And we've got flashing all around on this, making it look a lot less delicate than what it's supposed to look. It's supposed to look like very delicate throttle linkage. I'll give them props. I'll give MPC props for putting this in there at all. Even if it's probably out of scale and way too big. And it's kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to plastic molding. There's not much they can do about it. We have to get rid of this extra bit on here. I'm scraping away all the chrome in order to get rid of the parting seam on this. And the way this is going to be mounted down, well, they want it facing this direction and going on to the carburetor. I'm guessing it's supposed to go, there's this little rectangular hole right there in the center here, right there where the knife is pointing. Okay, and I think that's where this little tab, where my thumbnail is pointing, that little tab is supposed to go into that, like that. There's my tweezers. Go in like that. Sorta, kinda. Yeah. Okay, so I've got to get rid of the chrome on this side here. Otherwise, you know, I talk about this in every one of my videos where I got to deal with chrome stuff. You got to get rid of the chrome, otherwise the glue ain't going to work. Your hobby glue cannot penetrate the powdered aluminum that they use for chrome. So if you want it to actually stick, like every other part you're assembling, then you need to scrape away the chrome. Of course, you guys who strip your chrome off of all your stuff because you think the kit chrome looks too much like a toy, then you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to do this at all, right? So, and then of course on the back part, this one has to be cleaned off too, where it's going to mount, touch on the intake. There we go. Okay. I think we're good to go. So I'm going to hold on to it like this. I'm going to put a drop of glue there and there. There. And here. There we go. Some more glue to make sure she stays. There we go. So there's our throttle linkage installed. That's that. And with that, we can focus more on to the rear of the engine. We're going to put our, I guess it's the, I don't know what they call it, transmission plate. I have this painted aluminum where it counts. We're going to mount it onto the back here and just line that up like that. Call that done. Okay. But before we do that, we're going to put our clutch and flywheel on. I have this painted up. Okay. Just like that. Clutch and flywheel. Alrighty. It's got two little pegs that are going to go in there. I'm going to leave my little tab of tape in there because I figured why not. Yep, exactly. I figured why not. Put some glue around here. Get that lined up. There we go. Flywheel's installed. Just like that. Okay, nothing too complicated. I want to put a healthy amount of glue here and on here. Because she doesn't really fit flush on the back of the block. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So it's just a matter of like find a nice spot for it to sit and just let it sit, because it doesn't really sit flush. So just do it the way it is like that and just call that done. Call that good enough, I guess. It's really all I can do. I want to let this dry a little bit before I put the starter on. The starter's all painted and she's ready to go in there. But we're going to have to wait. So, yeah, so there you go. So now I've got to be careful on how I set this down. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing the transmission because I don't have a bell housing. The bell housing is used on our on our resin engine. So I don't have a bell housing, which means this is just going to be sitting there with no tranny on the end. Transmission, the two halves are put together. I did that already. Bingo, that's this guy. And there's transmission, some kind of weird linkage that's going to go here if you wanted to do that. I'm not, because I'm not using this tranny. So there you go, that'll be done. So if we flip over, oh, we still got our distributor cap. We got to paint that. Put our second coat of paint on the distributor cap. Now that this has had a few minutes to dry, a second coat. There we go. Okay, distributor cap is done. We'll install that after it's dried up. Okay. We'll take a look at our oil filter and oil filter adapter. I do find it interesting that you know, on both the 440 and the 426 Hemis, they put an adapter on the block to make the filter face a different direction and doesn't just attach right to the block. We have to get rid of the chrome on this face where the filter mounts. And we have to figure out how this mounts. It looks like it's just a peg with a hole, but it looks like it's going to sit there. Let's see here. Let's have a look. Flip this over. We're not doing the exhaust because I'm using the exhaust. Looks like we've got a breather cap that's supposed to go onto the valve cover, but I have that valve cover not connected. So I could put it on the dryer on the passenger side here. We'll see. Let's see here. So there's that oil filter right here. Oh, I see what the peg is for. So the peg is supposed to face down. It's going to mount onto the block like this with their little peg facing down because we're supposed to put a hose on it. There's this surface that our filter is supposed to mount to with all kinds of flashing and parting seam on it and making it a non-flat surface. But we got to get rid of the chrome on this surface anyway, so let's just clean it all up and make it flat for our filter to sit on. I'm not sure why this is chrome. I don't know if it's supposed to be chrome. Should it be chrome? I mean, the chrome makes it flashy. I'll give it that. But would it have been chrome? Let's see how this fits on there. Fits okay. I want to kind of have our spot where it was mounted on the sprue. Our little peg that it's lined up on is a little too small. As I was saying, the mark where it was mounted on the sprue, I want to have that facing the engine block, which is going to be this side. There we go, she fits now. So she's going to fit like that. So let's get rid of the chrome on that side there, where it's going to mount to the block. Let's do that. She's going to mount. Now we've got a little tab on the side of the block here, so I'm going to try and utilize that which means scraping off the chrome off this inside edge here where it's going to make contact. Doesn't have to be pretty on the inside because, well, ain't nobody gonna see the inside. There we go. So this guy goes on here like so. Doesn't really, Am I doing this correctly? Our filter should face forward. Okay. But our engine mount is kind of in the way here. Like that don't work at all. Our engine mount is in the way. Like very seriously in the way. I could do it like this, but that can't be right. That would put the oil filter now blocking the lower radiator hose. What the heck, guys? And it's not like I have my engine mount on backwards. There's no other way to mount the engine mount. It's literally the way it goes. And yet, like, you just pretend to make a spot back here somewhere. Like seriously, this is how they have it. They're not showing you the engine mount on this side, and this is supposed to go right there, which is right there. And yeah, good luck with that. So I have a choice to make. Mount this like this in the wrong spot so that it will actually fit. Or cut off our engine mount. I mean, I'm not using the engine mount anyway, so maybe I could just cut it off. I'll just cut it off here at the bottom, right here. Okay, bye-bye engine mount. And since I did that side, I might as well do this side. Go. No more engine mounts, guys. I'd be really disappointed if I was actually putting this engine in the kit. If I was using this engine, I'd be really disappointed. The fact that they put my engine mount right in the way of my oil filter installation. It's still almost like just wrong. It's just wrong. Okay, let's clean this up a little more better here. I'm starting to understand why I seen the guys on the Facebook forums saying this kit needs a lot of work when you build it. So if you want to just build this out of the box and not really have any issues, Sorry, you're gonna have a bunch of issues. Because it doesn't even... It's still almost... It's almost whatever. I'm gonna get rid of this peg here where our rad hose is supposed to go. And I'm actually gonna drill that out. I'm gonna cut this off flush. Start with flush. Kind of put a little bit of a pilot hole here. Okay, now we get a small bit. Okay, put it in our little pin vise, or my little Dremel. Go. Break my bit off inside of it. That's freaking great. Now I have a broken drill bit inside there.
Later.
Okay, so I've dealt with my pin in my little water pump, and so I got a bit of a hole going on in there, and that's good enough, and I'm done. So I'm going to glue my oil filter onto the front of this. Actually, what I'm going to do is, I noticed in trying to clean this part up, they have it chromed, but it's got texture on it like it's made out of cast iron, which tells me that should be the same color as the engine block. So I'm going to quickly just give this a little coat of our engine orange. This right here, Chrysler Hemi Orange. Let's put it on a clip here. Give it a little bit of paint here. Of course, over the chrome it's really bright, so we're going to have to deal with that once this paint is dry, because well, the rest of the engine is not a bright orange, so not anymore, that's for sure. So yeah, we're going to clean, we'll dirty that up a little bit once that paint is dried. The other thing that I probably shouldn't leave is I shouldn't leave the oil filter chrome. I mean, how often do you see chrome oil filters in a car, you know? Very extreme rare. White, orange, and black seem to be the most primary colors. While that paint is drying, we can put our starter in. The starter is here. He's got to go in and match up with that hole. So you should be able to fit him in there. Maybe I should have put him on before. That might have been easier. Get him lined up. There we go. Line him up in the hole there. I'll just hold him there for a sec. Like this. And put some glue through that hole. There we go. Do a little push, a little shove just to make sure. There we go. Starter is installed. Just like that. There's our starter installed. And with that, we can put it over on this side and we can put our distributor cap on. Finally, she's got to go onto this. She just sits down like that. It's not a very precise fit at all. But you work with what you got, right? So there we go, we got our distributor on there and our starter's in. Got a hole in my water pump instead of a peg. Our paint is pretty much dry, but I need to make it dirty. That is way too bright and awful looking. That just stands out like a sore thumb. So let's just grab some brown stain. And dirty this up a little bit. Even just doing that, it looks better. Even just dabbing it on there, it looks better. And we're going to use some white spirits. It's thinner. I'm going to clean off my brush a little bit here because I don't want to make it too obvious. There we go. Now, because it turns it into kind of a wash, it makes it spread out and it's super thin, and it gives the opportunity to use a little black. And mix the black with the brown. Like so. Brush properly. It gives it the look like, you know, it's a neglected part of it's a forgotten part of the engine block, really, you know. Nobody pays attention to this little spot. And it just kind of gets dirty and forgotten, and that's just the way it is, right? Okay, I do want to get inside here with a Q-tip and dry this paint a little bit, because we're going to put this on with the paint wet, or at least with all my thinner on there wet. We're going to glue it on like that, and I'm going to use my thick glue, because this will allow me to kind of put it on the inside here. And then put it on here and let go. Just leave it. And so I have my oil filter mount installed, and she looks nice and dirty like she should. And I am really disappointed in the whole engine mount thing. not working out. I mean, that just right in the way. Like this. Or is this side's? I don't know which side was which now. But it's just wrong. Not that I need them. I'm not using them. I'm not mounting the engine in the car anyway. So anyway, once that is dry, you're supposed to put a little hose onto it, and we're supposed to do our fuel lines, actually hooking up to our fuel filter or fuel pump. That's really cool. And then we've got our hose for our upper rad hose, which obviously we're not using because we're not putting it all in the engine. And then of course we would install the engine, but we're kind of not there yet. We've got things that are glued and that needs to cure, and I'm just about out of time. I think what I do want to do before I go is get our exhaust manifolds and put a coat of some German gray on these. German gray LP27. It's a good base coat for this kind of stuff. I don't see, you know, because I don't really see the Dukes using chrome headers or anything like that. So I imagine these are going to get kind of rusty and not really kept super nice looking, especially in the conditions that the General Lee was running in. Dirt roads and everything just don't lead to, it just doesn't scream chrome headers to me. Now, this is a trick that I learned while watching Martin on his Night Shift channel, painting realistic tank exhausts, and he has a technique down pat that just makes rusty exhausts really real looking. And he starts off with a German gray. And so that's what I'm going to start off with. I could start off with maybe a gunmetal or something like that and still get a similar result. But with the gunmetal, it just makes it look a little too shiny underneath your rust, you know. So there we go. There's our base exhaust color now. So I'm gonna do the second one. I'll do it off camera. You don't need to watch me do that twice, do you? I don't think so. So I'm gonna continue painting this exhaust manifold here, while saying thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on this little adventure. If you guys watched to the end, thank you so much. I do appreciate you guys who actually spend more than 30 seconds skimming through my videos, which I know a lot of you do, and that's fine. An hour-long video is just to watch me put a couple of parts together is a bit excessive. I get it, right? I understand that. You guys got better things to do with your time, right? So, but I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, because it does help with my YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. And maybe eventually one day I'll actually make a couple of bucks off of YouTube doing this stuff. when my channel actually earns a little bit of revenue for YouTube. I don't know. That would be pretty cool to actually earn money on YouTube, doing what you love, right? What is that saying? If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you guys again for watching. Thanks for all the support. Speaking of support, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button, and maybe subscribe too if you haven't, and leave a comment down below. I love reading your guys' comments, and you guys who do comment, you already know that I reply to comments as much as I possibly can, almost every single one. You got questions, go ahead, ask me. You got criticisms, go ahead, fire at me, fire away. I love to hear it because I like to learn from my mistakes, or at least I try to learn from my mistakes, right? I try to learn from my mistakes anyway. Yeah, so with all that little jabbering that I'm doing and rambling on, thank you again, guys, and I guess I'll do my thing that I always do, and we'll see you all on the next one.